striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM. I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines Group. Why, yes I am. The boat? No. It is called Cordelati 19 because that's the type of sloop it is.
The word "it" feels strange. Such a beautiful boat deserves a proper name.
It's a pleasure craft. A 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though these days I mainly use it for business. My sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
I really do, the lieutenant thinks. Is she thrown off yet? He's looking at the woman, assessing her.
Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around? Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou. We are. And the city of Revachol is on the island of Le Caillou.
She nods attentively.
Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft operator.
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain, white as the boat's hull as she smiles. Her nonchalance might be related to something called the Wayfarer Act, a law that says she doesn't need a license. Sly fox, you're not aggressive enough to harass her further on this.
Good. Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
How curious. Why is that, Detective?
Awkwardness washes over the conversation. The woman doesn't like this turn of events.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? I can't hear you, darling. Speak up, please. Oh, dear. Some kind of encephalopathic amnesia. I don't even know how to respond. I do believe you, naive as that may sound. I simply can't imagine what you gain by faking such a condition.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. I mean, favors for favors. A dirty alliance of some sort. Consider this. Perhaps she has been planning it all along. That you convince yourself into colluding with her. Feelings will guide the way.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of WALP. I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to
That is...
There's a trace of
How interesting. What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain. Saint-Baptiste, Elysium, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
Why, thank you.
She nods.
Why, yes I am. Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou. We are. And the city of Revachol is on the island of Le Caillou.
She nods attentively.
The boat? No.
The word "it" feels...
It's a pleasure craft. My sloop?
I'm enjoying this part of the interview.
I really do, the lieutenant thinks.
Officer, I assure you...
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain. Her nonchalance might...
Good. Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbor. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. What can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their big tent organization now. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even, it's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union.
Sounds like usual aggressive posturing.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar. Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the day1-4's union is... Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes, every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board. Fortunately, they explained it. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about anything, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story. Does it? The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitz, and this is my colleague from
How curious. Why?
Awkwardness washes over the conversation.
I see. So, I can't hear you, darling. Oh dear. I do believe you.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I...
Hang on. She's a professional. Negotiate. I mean, consider this. Perhaps she has been planning it all along. Easy. Just offer her a favor. Like I said, nice and dirty.
I will be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very tangible.
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason. The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resources might turn over the right stones. Or you can recover your badge, though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue. This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance, and not volunteer us to be her henchmen. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
He doesn't let it show, but there is a limit to how much the consequences of your unprofessional behavior can cost the investigation.
Yes. Knowing this does not really change our position, however. No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we are siding with the Union, or that we are on their take. We'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done, and demand for her information on the lynching. I'm sure you will, Detective.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samar and Isola into Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what, ma'am?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL, and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff. Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, ma'am. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sells drugs, I mean?
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no, As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut. Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dockworkers Union. Still, every chain has its weak link.
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbor into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they are vulnerable. Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment. I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you. How do you think they're financing this strike? There are thousands of unpaid dock workers going strong for the 4th month straight.
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy to fund it.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for themselves. Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you. No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However, this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi, but we need them trapped here. This is a unique opportunity. I'm sure you understand. We did, on more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction this area falls under.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the Union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCM. No one's been able to find any hard evidence.
Well, here's your chance, officers. Yes? Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. Hopefully one of them will know something. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. This reality.
Yes, reality and experimental side case.
Ah, yes, the episode. Sounds like an acute case of encephalopathy, now that I think of it.
Don't be phased, madame. He functions perfectly well. He only needs a lowdown on all of reality.
We may be here a while then. Ask away, officer. I'll help how...
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
We're in Martinez, baby. Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. Shelled to smithereens during the Revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol, and the bay feeds into the ocean. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water, the Insulindic.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the blue immensities. Vast, lukewarm and unknowable, flowing in and out of sight.
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the river Esperance. We're in the delta of this river on the 6th branch, the Martinez distributary.
It is clear this pebble is of enormous value to her, and to humanity at large.
Revachol? Rip the great kind.
As if it's self-explanatory, beyond patriotism, a fact.
History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries. The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed. In the DeLorean century, 380 years ago. They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is. I think it's fair to say so. Martinez is about 22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom, coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it. She observes your eyes scanning the horizon, then breaks the silence, slowly. This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something about a lowdown.
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions to ask, about even more fundamental aspects of reality. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Madame Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow.
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
It's better not to eat all your candy at once.
Indeed. I'm always at your service. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else? Of course, Detective. Take care.
This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, with a well-oiled crack, the lock pops open. Don't. Maybe you shouldn't. There is, but you won't like it. Sweat forms on your brow. Your hand is still on the lid. The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
You see milk and egg rest with one broken egg in it. Some pasta wrapper. Picking up the soggy packages somehow feels familiar. A box falls into pieces in your hands. Batiste Soleil cereal. There are plastic pasta packages below, and turbo noodles. Nothing of note, however. Among the threadbare kitchen towels, something catches your eye. A pair of denim trousers. As the legs of the slime-covered jeans begin to unspool from the garbage, a rank corpse smell fills the air.
The victim's clothes? Cadaver in odor is faint. If these belong to the deceased, they were removed when he was still in the early stages. Drop them in here, officer. Guitar marked blue jeans. Pockets empty or emptied. He wore them with a belt, too, a white belt. The loops appear stretched, but the belt is missing. That's it. Do you see anything else in there? I have another bag here.
Something slimy catches your eye. A drab, long-sleeved shirt, olive-colored, appears from the food waste, dripping with pus.
This is a military-type overgarment. No label or serial number. This is the kind of rib-knit shirt that's worn over light armor to conceal it in an urban scenario. Anything more?
The rest of the rags are just kitchen variety waste. A yellow old mug that catches your eye. But other than that...
All right. We should go to Gart again and ask if he knows who put the clothes in the trash. It could be as simple as someone from the hostel cleaning the yard. Or that one. I'd advise against confronting that force. Not really. All we know is the victim's clothes are in the trash. The lid was locked and his establishment had the key. It's just a small loose thread.
The lieutenant nods. It's just organic waste, cold and slimy on your hands. Apple and potato peels, mostly. Unidentified sludge, and the occasion nothing. It's nothing. What's this? A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple peels. It's shiny. Looks like the corner of something. They look badly damaged, but you can still make out forms and notes, written in a man's handwriting.
Officer, is that your paperwork? Yes, it is. Look. This plastic has the RCM street grid on it. You've even got an autopsy form. If you don't mind me asking, how did this get in the trash? Well,
His eyes express a rare condolence. Then,
lucky we found it. You should take stock of what remains, just to be sure some has not made it into the hands of the RCM's adversaries. Organized crime and the like. There might have been police secrets in your notes. It would also not hurt to start taking notes on the case. Now, tell me what your eagle eyes see. Or are we finished?
you pick out a broken mug with an oddly racist depiction of the yellow man frolicking in saffron, only in its social sensibility. The container sounds a muffled gong.
That's one thing off the list. I think we got it all.
Lonesome, long way home. Here we go. Home awaits. Walk past Station 41 and through the market, past the Boogie Street spearhead to the other side of the lake, the frozen eye at the center of the district. Then past the video rental store on the corner. There, at the end of a street lined with pine trees, a small house no larger than a matchbox. 11 Voyager Road. You no longer live there. Those times are gone. And so are those people. Why did you come here? Why are you still here? And where's the dealer? You have to get back to work. That's all you have now. Hey, so we've been monitoring you internally, and now we know your Copo type. Yes, guess what's yours? Yes, sorry cop. The cop who's sorriest. Let's make it official then, shall we? Huge lack of enthusiasm going on in here. Oh, you know, Apocalypse, Superstellar, the advanced interesting cop, Liquid Shadow cop. But you're too sorry to say those things. So, here we go. What? Jealous of the sorry cop? I think they'll be fine. Don't worry. They'll be super fine. It'll be totally okay. You can dual Copo type from sorry to anything. Of course you are. It's okay. See if you can get something out of this, like info. Or maybe every time you say you're sorry, you get $1 million. That won't happen. You see a set of tire tracks in the brown slush that covers the plaza mosaic. Cop habit. You look at everything. This isn't case-related, you think. Hard to say. Your vision is blurred and you're having difficulty concentrating thanks to your relentless hangover. The tire tracks were left here by an unknown event that took place some days ago. It's a message, written in the language of burnt rubber. Some of that rubber stuck to the tiles right in front of the whirling in rags. This is point A. The driver started there and then accelerated straight into the fence. The driver proceeded to back out of the yard, barely stopping before hitting the adjacent building, before heading south. Must have been in a hurry.
You are correct. This is a rather motor carriage-friendly city.
Somehow that makes you feel scared. You don't know why.
I'm not sure. There are plenty of traffic accidents waiting to happen in Martinez. With the jam right here on the roundabout, I would keep them separate.
You could follow the track south. The worker is
Can I help you? Thanks. I hope you found what you were looking for. How strange. I certainly didn't put them there. The trash collection service? CS Municipal. I don't see why they would put anything in the trash, though.
Ah, the elusive CS Municipal. I doubt we'll be able to track down who was sent here last and when. This will have to be one of those little threads that solves itself down the road. Thank you anyway.
Sylvie had the keys before I got here, and I can vouch for her. I can vouch for all my stuff. None of us would tamper with the crime scene. Yes? Another thing. Great. I love those. Yes?
A thin man is smoking below an exhaust hood, occasionally sipping from his mug. This must be the Whirling's cook. As you step in, he nods toward the table and says something in a completely foreign language. The only words you can make out are Garancy and Quebec. Okay, it's definitely not his name. Whatever you do, please don't call him Garancy Quebec. Please. It's not funny. The man puts his cup down and replies something, his left hand drawing arcs in the air. He smiles and bangs his ladle against each of his pots in turn. It's almost like music, especially with the sounds of assorted dishes boiling and simmering on the stove. You see a heavy steel door with, you immediately feel drawn to the color. Blue is for mystery. The cobalt blue surface feels rough to touch. The stainless steel door is flush with its frame on every side. The door does not budge.
You do? It's a door in the back of the kitchen. Why do you care where it leads? It is quite pretty. I suppose we could look into it as a side investigation. Gart is the person to ask about this, the cafeteria manager.
Can I help you? Another thing. Great. Oh, yes, that door, sure. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just a door. No, I don't have a key. I don't know how to get there. And I don't care either. It's not like I've been wondering about it for 10 years. It's just a frit warehouse, probably. Or some boring storage space with a bunch of old junk and dust. Junk and dust.
He's attempting to maintain an air of indifference. It's absolutely not convincing. He looks at the dust on his finger.
Yes?
It's raining. It was clear just an hour ago.
I am a gander and a hunter and a gatherer. Feel like a traveler.
A simple little cadence. He seems to be making it up as he goes.
From another planet. Hey there. It's the jam, my man. It's a traffic jam for the ages. Harbor gates up the street are shut tight. No explanation given. Workers on strike, scabs agitating, an all-around clusterfuck. Meanwhile, we're all stuck here in long-haul limbo for days upon days upon days. Upon days. Feels like forever. Like I was born on this here roundabout and this was all I ever knew. Just me and the metal and the tires, the oil and the fumes of mazout. Yeah, imagine. It's been a whole week already.
Behind the laugh, however, a touch of sorrow.
So tell me, what do you need? It's like, whatever's going on over at the docks. Workers got a blockade set up, making demands, no way in or out. Some pretty wild stuff, I hear. Like a giant new power crane in half the company? I forget what exactly. Good on them, I guess. I've heard talk there's a company rep in town, too. Like, a strike negotiator type. They'd know what's up. Precise demands and so on. They want to keep that money flowing in, my man. Ka-ching.
He doesn't blame them, but he's not on their side. That's for sure.
Anything else? Yeah, this ain't really my area of expertise. I just do my job and get paid. I have things to do and places to be. All of us do. Us lorry drivers, camionneurs. You still hang around here waiting for this mess to end. Most have scurried off somewhere to get drunk or high. Or laid. Not that I blame them, really. Not my thing. Chasing transient pleasures is a drag these days. I prefer the examined life now. thinking, reflecting, observing. He ain't one of us drivers. I know that. All accounted for. Otherwise, I haven't really asked about that. Been wasting time right here. Keep him busy.
It's easy to see he's telling the truth. He's kept his nose out of the dark stuff.
Analyzing the fundamental structural and psychological conditions of being stranded in the midst of a sea of motor lorries and their sad, despondent chauffeurs. A sense of surprise there ain't more bodies hanging from more trees. Oh, high-grade narcotics, illegal firearms, stuff like that.
Time to arrest him. Relax. He's merely joking.
Ha! No, I'm joking, my man. Found runs a nice, clean business. This haul of cargo is mostly sporting goods. You know, tracksuits and that kind of thing. They usually get shipped to Grad in the Occident, though we've been making headway in the Il-Moran market lately. This rockin' beauty. Sure is, like a rash you can't get rid of. You interested in heavy-duty cargo machines?
A motor lorry, also called a camion, on Caillou and neighboring islands. This one looks roughed up enough to be some sort of found rust bucket. Maybe the A6?
Good eye, my man. Yup, she's an old one, but reliable. Me and her spent a long time together.
There it is again. A little touch of sadness beneath his cool. He thinks he's spent too long in this lorry.
We're pals and all, but I can't just freely hand out the merchandise. The bosses won't be happy.
The man taps his fingers rhythmically against his arm.
Huh? Oh. No, I ain't got any money. They don't want to pay for unfinished work. The bosses, man. Yeah, it sure ain't good for me. Or you. I'd spare a coin or two for a city cop down in his luck. If I had, say, 4 myself. Ah, man. Me and narcotics go way back. Had some good times surfing the psychic waves of my own consciousness, you know? But those days are behind me. There are other addictions in my life now. Why the inquiry, my man?
We have a credible lead, sir. Someone on this roundabout is waiting for a bulk shipment from the harbor to load it on their lorry and drive it to Jamrock.
Not me, man. No way. I don't need any trouble. Shit's bad enough anyway. This jam's got folks up in arms, and I'm afraid it's headed toward a conflagration. Gotta guard the stuff. Bosses don't look kindly on missing cargo, and it gives me time to work on my rhymes.
A rhymesmith? This is quite credible. It goes with its cadence and way of speaking.
Look, man, I try to stay away from the criminal underbelly of Revachol. I'm a guest here. You really need to find another man to probe with those questions.
We wouldn't say he's lying, sire.
Don't be a stranger. Stuck in the rain in a traffic jam, man. What's on your mind? Stuck in the rain in a traffic jam, man. What's on your mind?
Wait, there's something here, stored away in some dusty corner. It starts like...
Whoa. What else? Silent communion. That's good. Dang, that's some great shit. You came up with that yourself.
Did you?
No matter. Great verses like that sometimes. Ephemeral. You might not look it. Seems you have some literary chops. Maybe there's hope for me yet. Just messing with you. It's cool. You're an okay guy. For a cop. They're more often in the fists than rhymes, see? Let alone honesty in verse.
In a small office behind the old military hospital, hunched under the green glow of his desk light, Officer Hans Blau browses through a test print of his Futurist magazine. It's called The Futurist. The typeface on the header is too small.
Well, you've given me some hope, I guess.
You found some common ground with this man. Even impressed him. The next time you look in the mirror, though, remember those words. Not a good track record of mental health in that family. Even by the standards of the Philippian kings, old sumptuous Philip was known for his profligacy. Well, he blew through the whole national treasury, starting the decline of one of the penultimate century's greatest superpowers, the suzerain of Revachol. His own maladministration foreshadowed the fall of the monarchy. During the anti-centennial revolution, an end to his family line and the monarchy on the Insulindian Isola. Stories have it that he had his bedroom converted into a treasure chamber, where he stored unfathomable wealth. Krugerrands, bars of gold, ornate weaponry, armor, and various chalices. There were whispers he slept on a huge pile of gold-dipped feathers, like some obese dragon, instead of a bed, like a normal person.
The man certainly knew how to live.
But wait, you haven't even heard about his fabled cocaine addiction. You see, old Philippe wasn't just good at squandering the national treasury on gold and ceremonial weaponry, he was also a prodigious snorter of nose candy. Cocaine. His Majesty's courtiers said it helped him connect with the higher realms. That's what the revolutionaries said 150 years later, right before they emptied out the royal mausoleum and dumped His Majesty's mortal remains in the Elysium Bay. Beneath the cold waters of the Elysium Bay, thrown there by the revolutionaries after they cleaned out the royal mausoleum. The original was blown apart by communards, then further damaged during the landing of the coalition's airships during the turn-of-the-century revolution, when Martinaise was leveled. Most historians think the coalition's hasty landing may have ultimately saved the statue. If the communards had more time, they would have reduced it up to even finer pieces. Some years ago, a group of liberal, artistically inclined individuals, designers mostly, thought it would be ironic to restore the statue of the most wasteful ruler of Revachol in the poorest part of the city. The statue is supposed to capture the moment it was blown apart, like an instant frozen in time, a rare butterfly trapped in amber, floating on a sea of shit. People in Martinaise tend to disagree, as do many prominent art critics and thought leaders with more nuanced social awareness than the young ironists. Philip III, the squanderer, however, with his bronze face up in the air, doesn't seem concerned about what the hoi polloi think of him in death. Not that he ever did in life either. Not a good track record of mental health in that. The small, wrinkled woman does not greet you. She nods along to something on her radio. A photograph is clutched in her hands, and there is a warm smile on her face. The photo, an ambrotype from the turn of the century, as golden as her smile. It's the warmth of a winter night's fire. Maybe she could give you comfort and shelter, some cigarettes and food money. Maybe she's your...
If you want her attention, you may need to be more forceful.
No response, wherever this woman is.
Where am I? Who are you?
The smile on her face has disappeared, replaced by the wary aspect of a cornered beast.
Never mind. I remember now. I'm still stuck in that traffic jam in the 50s. Back in Mecca, during the time of the revolution, the sidewalks and cafes are filled with young people. I was on my way to see a new Boyadero picture starring Gabriel Buenguerro. Until you came along, that is. This is Gabriel Buenguerro.
A strikingly handsome man looks straight at you, his head crowned with a wide brim hat. His hair is dark as an oil slick, and his jaw the most perfectly chiseled thing you've ever seen.
He was the biggest star of his day. Girls used to faint in the aisles of cinema whenever he came on the screen, and schoolboys used to memorize all his lines.
In all likelihood, it's a world that's only ever existed in her mind.
Someone was. They are someone's memories, boy. What difference does it make if it's me or not? They're beautiful. That is all that matters. Beautiful and true. And they will win. They're coming for this, you know? All of this.
She seems to derive some bitter pleasure from this strange thought, as if the past will one day wipe the present away, like a tidal wave approaching.
I wasn't dreaming. I was there, Loman. It was early spring, and the man behind the black sun had just come out. The posters were 20 meters tall. Everything was golden. While you, people, were tearing each other apart over your petty little revolution, in Meth, it was a golden age.
The Republic of Mesk is a massive confederation on the Isola of Muindi, the world's largest state by territory. It's a petrostate, a constitutional monarchy, and, as of recently, an outcast due to its tilt to the far right.
Why not, Harife? It's not like I have anything better to do in this hellhole.
There's something off about this woman. Tell her to show you the soles of her boots. Maybe she was at the hanging somehow.
Diamonds? Of course not. But wouldn't it be marvelous if I was? Whatever stupid things they put in the lorry, I imagine. I quit concerning myself with that a long time ago. Besides, I don't drive the lorry for the cargo, if you know what I mean. Then it's contraband, Loman. What? Do you want to take an old woman in? Be my guest. Lock me away like Bad Hand Hermenegildo.
Bad Hand? Hermenegildos' bad hand strangled 300 people. What can I say? Some people just really like strangling people.
She's just a distracted old woman.
So he doesn't think she's a smut.
You hear that, Loman? I don't think your partner likes you spending too much time with me. Oh, don't worry about me. I'm one of the best camioners around. I drive routes no one else will. Lomonosov's Udashnaya Zemlya, the Western Plain, the Transcatalia Magistral, you for 1A, Adestradas du Mirador, all the good ones, the deep trenches, where the bluebirds fly. You're right, Lowman. I'm the one who should take my health more seriously. Thank you for looking out for me.
A correct appraisal. You're quite shabby.
Is that all you woke me up to say? Of course not. To truly understand the boyadero, you need to listen to on the Western Plain.
The boyadero, boya for short, is a cowherder from upstream Magritte, the great steppes of northern Mesk. He is a rugged individualist and explorer.
It's an old ballad about a young girl who falls in love with a daring boyadero. He promises to marry her as soon as he returns from the Western Plain. Of course not. The boyadero returns from the Western Plain a changed man. One night, as he and his beloved are out walking along the river Magritte, she pleads with him to give up his riding and settle down.
In the background, you can hear the orchestra swell as the screen fills with the maiden's imploring eyes.
So the boyadero strangles his beloved and throws her body in the Magritte. Then he rides off, because the Western Plain is calling to him. You have to understand. A true boyadero needs a whole horizon to himself. He can't be tied down by man or woman. His beloved was selfish. She didn't know what it meant to love a boyadero.
What if to truly love a boyadero is to float lifeless downstream?
Now what do you want with an old woman's boots, Sheriff? Please? I think you should let me get back to Gabriel Buenguerro. You are not Gabriel.
She's wearing sturdy worker's boots made of black leather. Buckles run across. The sole is also made of...
Just before Gabriel, it was the coronation of Franco Negro. Now, there was a real man.
Moreover, the boots were size 37, tiny. There are too many discrepancies in... Another discrepancy, although not boot-related, is the coronation of His Innocence Franco Negro, which happened 500 years ago.
It was. And then it was no more. And I was no longer holding my father's hand. He was no longer descending the stairs in Ryle. The crowd had gone silent. Perhaps it was another Jerife who came and woke me up, looking at my boots, asking questions. Or perhaps it was one of the others in this carnival.
As she says carnival, she gestures to the empty square with the statue and the machines.
I could have told you that from just looking at them.
The feet of a little girl, they fit well on the pedals. What do I need drugs for, Lowman? What I see, what I feel, the great adversary, no drugs can compare. Yes, there is a protagonista and an adversario. I am on the side of the adversary. There's no coming back from that hole.
Those epithets are familiar somehow. The great adversary, the great unrest.
Then what were you getting at?
This line of questioning is going nowhere. Maybe if she thought you're corrupt.
Why would I want to do that? Loma, what in the name of God are you talking about? Maybe. Probably not. Makes no difference to me either way. Just this month, I made half a dozen trips from Saramiriza to Grat, on the U41A. What do you think they take from Saramiriza to Grat, Loma? It's diamonds, Loman, obviously. Easy. He's the skinny man who thinks he's a poet. Never trust a poet. Also, he's the only one I can see from here.
That's correct. There is no visibility of any of the others.
Where do you want me to go? This isn't so bad. I can listen to music, or the seagulls. Look at all the colors and the features of this world. It's a good palate cleanser, this jamboree. Or I can just relax and let my mind carry me back where it will, to the Great Plains.
I think we're done here, no?
Yes, go. Enough jamboree. I need to get back to Mesky.
have a right to work. Hold up and stay frosty, everyone. Cops are here.
You here to fuck with us? Beat the honest worker down. We're here to fight for a cause. Stripes usually have problems with people who have causes. Good. We're fighting for a cause here. Besides, we're not that different. It helps if people see us talking, cops and strikebreakers together. Shows authorities are on our side. Builds confidence. Rights of people. Rights of workers. To have.
His manner of speaking is wooden, the tone of voice bland and uninspired, almost as if compiling replies from a set of learned phrases.
Might be time. Don't let the fat bastards tread on you. Cops tend to side with the higher-ups, but you're essentially still workers. I don't trust cops, but I can see you understand the
Right to work! Right to work!
Maybe you should ask them the questions, like, we have families to feed, you piece.
So do we, Scott.
When a bunch of ungrateful, lazy cockroaches can't get their act together, decide to block honest work for other people.
Beats me. They mumble nonsense about boardrooms and workers' rights, while we have the...
There's something odd in the way he carries himself. His set of clothing looks vaguely mismatched. The different pieces of the attire seem ill-fitting. His shirt is far too small and an unpleasantly tight fit, while the overalls, held up by a belt, seem to fit a man with much more corpulence. He ignores your question, choosing instead to turn to the emaciated workers, raising both fists in the air. The clothes are obviously not his. Silence is the answer. There's something off here, but he won't say what.
Honest men and women, with rights, to work, to be useful, not toys for corporate interests. We came here to help the harbor run smoothly in time of crisis. If Union fucks don't want work, they ought to let in those who do.
I have a question. Why do all these men follow your leadership?
You think they follow because I'm big and loud? No. They follow the rules of the market, the rules of the economy.
You've been talking to him for quite a while now. Something is off with this guy. Ask him where he's from.
We were promised work. We'd be in there, working, if the bastards hadn't shut the gates.
Main gate's locked. Would take heavy ordnance to bust it open. Could try to get in through the secretary's office. Door's locked. The guard's blocking the way to... And I don't mean the scrawny mess punk either. I mean head measurer. Or whatever he is. Huge Seminese guy standing up there on the overhead passage. Won't let anyone by. The access panel is right behind. Bad. Standing on a narrow bridge, he's got a strategically advantageous position. And he's trained.
I don't know how the Union has a trained killer up there. But that one's no joke, and my men are tired and hungry. They're workers, not fighters.
Why don't you go arrest them instead? I'm sure...
It would be better for the neighborhood if you went home, at least for me.
No! They will give up eventually.
Or get drunk. Leave the button unguarded. Then we charge. Have fun. Union shits are on full strike. Don't think they're going to let you through the gates. You're trying to meet their fat boss.
Right to work!
It's shameful. Cops doing nothing. You should bring backup. Open up the gates for us. Blockading gainful employment for workers is a crime.
We are not picking a side in this just yet, sir.
Pity.
Let us work!
What's it to you?
No. Don't think we've met before. I came to help out the people.
We're all workers, right? Workers stick together. Came from the eminent domain, in Jamrock. Backgrounds in odd jobs, heavy lifting, cargo hauling, bouncer work. I know the drill. Worked at Territorial. Ring a bell? We're done here. I have a strike to break.
Welcome to Revachol.
Don't you welcome to Revachol me. My grandfather came here from a 3,000-year-old racist isolationist culture, while your ancestors came to this island a mere 300 years ago. Every school of thought and government has failed in the city, but I love it nonetheless. It belongs to me as much as it belongs to you.
What he means is, fixation on the Revacholian nation makes it harder for Revachol to actually attain self-determination.
Come on, man. I just said welcome to Revachol. It's a lorry driver thing.
I know exactly what you meant. You think my kind doesn't belong here, that I should watch myself and behave. But you see, I'm an officer of the RCN. It's actually my job to make sure you behave. I would advise you to remember that.
Silence. The air between them becomes, your partner needs backup. Now's your moment to shine.
I haven't learned anything I didn't know before.
The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calmness.
Whatever you say, officers.
You could ask him to show you the soles of his boots. He definitely looks like someone capable of a lynching. Maybe he was present.
It's about biological determinism, natural law, the sorting of the races. Not the most popular topic nowadays, with the coalition in charge and all. You might want to change the topic. That is, bury your head under the sand like common sheep. I'm not just racist. Look, I've read books, huh? The science of racial theory has all been proved. Even if some people who've studied these things say that you and me are superior by design. So, naturally, we Occidentals should be in charge. Obviously, you can see the merits in that. Oh? Don't push your luck, Runt. Looking for something, Runt? Come to tell me to fuck off again? Oh, not much anymore. I'm here to pick up some cargo, but the dock workers are on strike, so it's a sit and wait on your ass situation. The strike? Oh, they've been at it for a while. A month, 2 months maybe. But this here is just the last week or so. Apples?
Apples is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you had something to hide.
Yeah, apples? I take it you had other questions? Been admiring the stompers, Runt? Sure, I can demonstrate them.
On the bottom of the man's boots, you see an intricate tangle of threads with no immediately discernible pattern.
It's Revachol. You'll see when the time comes, officer. True patriots carry Revachol in their very souls.
Technically, you're stomping on Revachol every step you take.
I know you people don't understand poetry. Oh man, that's great. Look at that guy go. Haven't seen a goddamn. Thanks for that, but no, it's not.
He doesn't live in Martinez.
Drugs? They're shit, man. I don't let anything pollute my body. You know where that shit comes from? Sarah Miriza, Safre, Ilmara. They take the money from our local junkies here and then use it to outcompete us in the manufacturing sector. They know they can't beat us in a fair fight, so they have to get us to weaken ourselves somehow. It's racial sabotage, racial economic sabotage. Not in, not out. I'll never betray the purity of my tribe.
So you're telling us that you don't know anything about drug smuggling through Terminal B?
I don't know shit. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you. What do you think? I can't leave the lorry unguarded. Stuff's been getting looted lately. It's those little kips sneaking around at night. If they touch my stuff, the bosses will be on my ass like ass cancer.
There was a bunch of spilled boxes in the back of a big lorry nearby.
Yeah, I knew that guy. He was an honest driver who loved this country. We were having a good debate about genetics at the Wheeling in Rags when some kip boys smashed his lock and took damn near everything. Lost his fucking job over it. Since he left, I haven't had anyone to talk to. It's a fucking travesty, is what it is. Isn't it obvious? Fucking Sealang, that beady-eyed South Samaran. His little side business is a scam. I wouldn't be surprised if he was peddling drugs as well. He's a Samaran guy who likes to pretend he's some kind of businessman. Really, he's just selling his employer stuff. Stuff he stole after he broke the seals on his Humanox lorry. Just follow the smell. It smells like apricot and oil when you're nearby.
Yes, yes. Where is he?
Looks like I offended your partner there. Too bad. Sealang's usually a little bit south of here, near the canal. You can't miss him. Just watch yourselves. His tribe are natural liars. It's in their blood. He's your man, all right? 100%.
I wouldn't be so sure about it. Not until we've heard what Sealang himself has to say.
Guess so.
The tear machine. Your bottles clunk into the machine, and the money appears with a satisfying jingle. You're a richer man now. You see several packaged raincoats fill a low shelf beneath a display of croissants and juice bottles. The raincoats are transparent, except for...
What is what? It's a raincoat. If you want to buy one, then it's only 4 real.
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles, nasal sprays, and blister packs. They all bear the Saint-Baptiste Pharmaceutics logo. Their logo is the bloodless rose, pure white, untouched by harm.
Just ask me if you need anything from Saint Baptiste. We don't stock prescription meds, but we do have Nosafed, Duramine, Magnesium, and Hypnogamma. I don't know. Let's see. Nosafed is a nasal spray. Duramine is a really good painkiller. Magnesium is a dietary supplement. Hypnogamma is... I don't really know what Hypnogamma is. I guess it makes you feel less shit. It's recommended to use after lots of partying, studying, or exercising. Uh-huh. Saint Baptiste. You know, the pharmaceuticals company. Saint Baptiste Pharmaceuticals. The one that sells meds out of Saint Baptiste. That one.
She is right. Saint-Baptiste, the company, derives its name from Saint-Baptiste, the city. Itself so named because that's what it is. A rare case where that really is the full etymological history. As far as almost anyone knows, at least.
Yeah, there's like an ampule somewhere.
A colorful display of cigarettes and alcohol bottles line the shop wall, inviting you closer. There, in that dark green glass, all in vain. The great flowing river of warmth, wine, alcohol, beer, alcohol, love, alcohol.
Guess not, no. I'm obliged to inform you that both alcohol and cigarettes damage your health, but I guess you already know that.
Don't ask, don't look, don't do anything here. Just go away. Get back to work.
No, Frit only sells legal drugs, like the law says.
The maps look old and faded. Your eye catches a map of Insulinda, a map of Revachol.
Always good to be informed.
The worn map features the patchwork grid of the streets of Martinez, with directions to appropriately touristy locations. Year 48 resides on the up. Your finger moves through the various streets. Across, finally coming to a halt on the spot. There are clothes inside. Cheap second-hand clothes.
Don't be shy. These are premium class clothes. Good quality fabrics, best retro design.
How about some premium class service over here? Like paying with net worth. Go over and ask him if you can save the economy. That sounds off. You find your hands deep in tattered and faded garments made from weird polyester blends that make your body itch and sweat in all the wrong places.
Economical, but also trendy. Look first-hand, buy second-hand. Keep the economy moving.
If he really wants to save the economy, he'd let you. No good. If he really wants to save the economy, no good. If he really wants to save the economy, he'd no good.
You keep coming back.
If he really wants to save the economy, something cold grazes your hand. Synthetic and sleek, a windbreaker. Surf, it says, but also wind, summer, 100% waterproof, and sport. All in different typefaces.
Good choice, officer. Mega sporty. And it's only $4.50 for you, sir.
You see two lowly, defeated speakers, thralls, slaves basically, perched atop them like conquerors surveying the land. A pair of found, durable wear sneakers.
I can see you've a taste for luxury, officer. Can't keep your eyes off those.
Speaking of luxury, you should go over and ask about paying for those sneakers with a pair of found ultras. The design is impossibly sleek and simple. A futuristic silhouette with a sleek monochrome colorway, a jet black upper and a silver-lined midsole.
Those sneakers, mister. Those sneakers are the latest found sneakers. Super air, super fine, super cool. Only 50 real.
Only Found Ultra. Wear the future. You remember the slogan from some magazine. These once respectable speakers have been conquered, reduced to a mere prop by the indomitable Found Ultras.
No, don't look at the speakers, officer. Look at the sneakers. The sneakers are the stars here. These, officer? These speakers are Samaran garbage. I'm ashamed to even use them for props. Don't waste your time on them.
Samaran trash. That sounds like they're from the Samaran People's Republic, produced under the dictatorship of the proletariat.
No way, officer! These aren't for sale. They're bad speakers. Low-fi socialist junk. Well, if you... But see, they are the pedestal for my sneakers. If I let go of the speakers, where will the sneakers go? I can't leave premium lifestyle. If, on the other hand, you wanted to buy the sneakers too, I could maybe throw in the speakers for little extra. 50 cents?
Damn, so you have to buy the sneakers. There's a pile of cheap sunglasses.
You like...
Stylish shades, huh? They'd be even more stylish if you paid for them. These are all boring. Boring, third-rate ho-hum. Those UV stickers are almost certainly just there for the show. If anything, these lenses probably direct more UV light.
These are all first-rate sunglasses. Premium design, super material, very cool, UV resistant. These will definitely keep your eyes safe and cool while doing your dangerous...
Abort. These are hideous. What's more, they don't even fit your face. You can feel them pinching your nose and chafing against your brow.
Damn, officer! You look like a mega secret spy. Very secret. They're practically made for you.
No, you are definitely not buying those.
Are you sure? But they look so good on you. You should think this through, officer. The shine...
Stylish shades, huh? They'd be even more stylish. No. Stylish shades, huh?
Oh, very interesting choice, officer. Very high culture.
This is how a sea monster sees the world. You've become a sea monster. Giant, yes. But they also make your soul quiver like jello. So deep.
Wow, officer! You look so cool! And they can be yours for a mere 3 real. My regular customers have passed them all up because they've got no taste. But you found them.
The lieutenant tilts his head and steps back, eyes narrowed in a thorough examination. It's a case to him.
You look like a musician. Like a blind musician. But you could do worse. Take them if you want.
A man who knows his style. Much respect.
You see a Samaran street vendor surrounded by a motley assemblage of goods. When he realizes you're looking at him, his face breaks into a wide... The name Sileng is embroidered over his breast pocket.
Happy shopping, officer! Everything's cool here. Everything's cool. The goods are cool. The customers are... You're very cool. Bang, 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 bang. What? No. I can't believe you said that. You got personal style. You know what you like. You like premium menswear. Look around and browse. Everything looks cool on a guy like you. Take your time.
Don't be distracted by the flattery and funny man act. Questions?
Me? It's a boring story, officer. Who cares about the past? I'm all business now. All reversal.
This man probably comes from Seaguy, sometimes known as the Apricot Suzerainty, an archipelago in the Samaran Isola.
Very sharp, officer. I'm Serais, from the Seaguy province of the Serais Empire. The Apricot Suzerainty, you know?
Apricot Suzerainty calls to mind an era when the Seaguy archipelago was colonized by Revachol. It's a bit of a slur, in other words.
Very cool. I admire your awareness of our intertwined histories. It's super nice of you to apologize for colonialism, but the Apricot Suzerainty is a shithole. That's why I left. If you say so, officer. I don't worry too much about politics. I'm an entrepreneur, you know. Whatever's good for business is good for me. Drugs? I don't go in for that, officer. Drugs ruin lives. Unless you're into drugs, of course. In which case, drugs are excellent. Mwah! Tasty, tasty drugs. That's very cool. I don't like drugs either. I only said I do because I didn't want to sound lame. Peer pressure. That's even cooler. You investigating narcotics crimes like that? But I am not a lorry driver. I'm just a street vendor. I don't know anything about that.
A blatant lie, sire. Yet he tells it with such conviction. We'd believe him if we didn't know better.
Who said that? It's the fat racist, right? I bet it's him. He has an agenda against me because I'm an immigrant who works harder than he does. He's a hater.
So you admit you're a lorry driver?
No, I just said I work harder and he's an asshole. Okay, maybe I'm a lorry driver too. A little. But that's not the most important thing about me. That's my day job. This is my dream. Exactly. It's such a small part of my life. It's in the rear view mirror now. I'm climbing out of that hole with ingenuity. Nothing. I told you. I'm not a dumb guy. I don't get involved with that crowd.
And what crowd?
Crowd! You know, the drug crowd.
No, he wasn't talking about an abstract crowd. It was that crowd.
No use. He's not telling us. He's too afraid. We need to take him to my station and ask him there, after we've called his boss.
Okay, look. There's bad people doing bad things here. That's all I know. Please don't get me into this mess. I spent 15 years working my way up.
Here we go. There's a tiny bit of truth on the table. Zoom in on it.
It's a she, okay? The other drivers call her the lady driver. You're better off staying away from her. The way they talk about her, she's no lady. All of them. I don't know. I told you all I know. Are we cool now? I really want us to be cool now.
Who exactly is talking about this lady driver of yours? The racist or the other one with the tattoos?
All of them. Even the ones who've left. I don't hang out with them. I don't remember who has tattoos. I don't know. Maybe. If she is, I haven't gone near her.
It could be. He's not ruling her.
All right. I scored. Let's cap this off with a purchase. You can walk away from here with funky sunglasses, detectives. Both of you.
It's just a racist mug. What's... Oh boy, here we go. What are you going to say about a broken, tossed-away mug that you dug out of the garbage? But it was in the trash. Why not just call it out when you see it? Or do some It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic boards, barely held together by a metal clip. This sad display is made complete by the faint smell of urinal cleaner. There's a piece of toilet paper, or is it cleaning tissue. No, it's toilet paper, desperately sticking to the back of the blue plastic clipboard. It's a metaphor for you. Below the pathetics, terror. Do not look into its blue heart. It's just toilet paper sticking to the back of the plastic clipboard. You can take it off if you want. If you want it to be kitchen tissue. It's not though. It's toilet paper. Still wet, the toilet paper, I mean kitchen tissue, sorry, peels off the plastic easily. All you have to do is shake it off your finger and voila, the ledger now looks marginally better. The acidic stench of rotting food is rubbed off on the cellulose. It now forms the base of the experience. This base surrounded by a faint air of spoiled meat, the stuff of death itself, and then sprinkled liberally with the citrus zest of toilet cleaner. An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the clip. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence. You don't know how you didn't notice it before. It is similar to the RCM watermark on your blazer the lieutenant mentioned. Didn't he say something about the headlights of his motor carriage? That you can read these there?
What? Yes, halogen watermark used for adding information to RCM property. It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information varies by date of issue.
Maybe yours will have how many cases you've solved. How many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. It'll have that.
Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. Yes, RCM vehicles have had lights tuned especially to reveal halogen watermarks.
This means you can read the watermarks.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, it's a sorry sight. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered, with faint red lines forming short paragraphs. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files, commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized and extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases undertaken, not completed, mind you. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. Two? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. That's okay. We all do, sooner or later.
Like a fan of gills, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a name. A title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from snoop fiction and vespertine cop show staples. Yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolvable Case. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the hookah parlor. Even the rare article-free collapsing tenement. Murder features prominently throughout. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close. There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. The tasks you've completed flow out of the kind green ape pen in a brash freehand similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's almost robotically simple, a language developed for mental rigor and simplicity. Inspect the victim, interview the cafeteria. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to say. And you, and you. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the citizens' militia. Now all that remains is to name the case.
No, actually. Any ideas? Great. That's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. The Hanged Man. Good, strong name. We have a very good name for the case now. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good we sorted this out.
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your nose now. In the back, you see thin, translucent copier paper. Some neon yellow, some bright red, all covered in boxes, like marching armies. These look like official forms, waiting to be filled out. Then rip them from the binder and hand them out, according to type of form. 3. The topmost are misconduct fines. The middle ones are station calls, and the bottommost are field autopsy forms. Each is easy enough to make sense of. You don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 real. Severe cases allow for 1,000 real, but that requires special paperwork. The details of issuing these fines are spread out over the rest of the fields. But they appear pleasantly vague. These are quite sinister in turn. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call are the criminal charges you risk by not appearing. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color. You see the parameters of a deceased human form waiting to be filled in. Age, sex, condition of internal organs. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms and hand them to people. Fines for wrongdoers, interview requests for bad guys, and field autopsies to dead guys. The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear. Being sandwiched between the board and the rest of the paperwork must have spared the fragile copier paper. It's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. The edges are rounded, however. The U4 size board feels thick and heavy in your hand. Light shimmers on its wet surface. On the back you see the embossed letters, RCM. Blue. The blue heart. Don't look into it. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Is there a hidden compartment? Permeables. It's not hidden per se. The compartment is made for permeable materials that would get damaged if something happened to it. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not see-through. You cannot see to its center. With your hands, U4-sized pages hang from the clip screwed to the top of the board. Arson, petty theft. You don't exactly close them. Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and...
All right. Ready? I turn, you press start. It's next to the preheater.
He's downplaying his excitement. The lieutenant is more than happy to show off his precious carriage. The dashboard lights up with orange glow. The lights unfold with a little click, casting electrical light onto the ground before the vehicle.
There you go. I'll...
As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, a shimmering iridescent pattern appears, one you've definitely seen before.
There she is, Revachol West.
Around the borders of the watermark are dozens, no, hundreds of micro-perforations. The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the RCM, and yet the major arteries of Revachol are all recognizable. They shimmer in the Kanema's headlights. You catch a faint glimmer from a broken beer bottle in the distance. Sounds. Two men engaged in a drunken argument, followed by the closing of some distant window.
Ah, Martinez at night. Let me see. Right here. No, it does not.
There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. The first row has 18 dots. The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border, and then some. There are so many, it's hard to count. More than 150, at least. Maybe even 200. The last row has 3 perforations. That's it.
Those are perforations. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. They are your statistics, as it were. I should have guessed you'd keep a record. Officers often do. Let's take a look.
Alpha male officers who are proud of their numbers often do. It's meant.
The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? That's what it says. I might have guessed even longer based on your age. What did you do all those blissful years of your youth? Fair point. Let's move on, shall we? This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Closed is good. It means finished. You've got, wow, more than 200. It's quite a lot, even for someone who's been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually, clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you in the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. For an RCM officer, especially Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock Quarter, it's rather tame. I mean that in a good way. There are certain officers who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. If they do happen to solve a case, it's usually by accident. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have that to be thankful for. Yes.
It's not a problem for him to state it, however.
Everyone has their own method of coping. Some more effective or self-destructive than others. Personally, I find it helps to keep up a few hobbies. Oh, this and that. Let's not get into it now. Anything's better than annihilating yourself with drugs and alcohol.
It's meant in earnest. Please don't mistake it for a jab. The lieutenant nods.
Right. I'll go turn off the lights.
Jamais vu. Derealization. Jamais vu. The opposite of déjà vu. Not already seen, but never seen. Everything that should be familiar appears strange and new, like some half-forgotten day in your childhood. Only now. That's the feeling you've been having. And for who knows how long. You should go and ask Joyce Messier about this. What world are we in? This is a fundamental question. An inconspicuous pile of the roof. There he still is, looking right through you with his white eyes. The body below. There he still is, looking. As you breathe in, the odor comes over you. It's a smell of the mind telling you to run, and your stomach to wring itself empty. With your hands at your sides and your eyes squinting, you stand in it.
They do after 7 days, yes. We are deep in decomposition here.
The man before you is naked, but for a pair of underpants and enameled boots. His skin is greenish, marbled with decaying veins, and blotched by lividity. A fading web of tattoos covers his chest and shoulders. The cargo belt used to fasten him to the branch above appears industrial in strength. The material appears to be ceramic. Its clean white stands in stark contrast to the decaying flesh above the knee. The man wore thick polymer socks, probably for padding. A fine array of interlocking plates covers them. Delicate and fragile, they feel alien to the world around you, out of place somehow. These are clearly not boots. They're armor, possibly part of a larger set.
Indeed. Technically speaking, these are sabatons, not boots. Ceramic plate, zirconium dioxide, most likely. This is where the make would be. Under the heel, Fairweather model T500 VE. I'm guessing that's vitreous enamel. This is advanced stuff. It is. It's expensive. We've requested similar material for our tactical units for years now. The constabularies deemed it too costly. In that time, we've lost 6 men to semi-automatics. For a full set, about 4 years of wages.
For the northwest region of Revachol, an officer's average yearly income is 5,500 rial, unadjusted for rank.
Not too much, yes.
The lieutenant nods, wiping his finger on his sleeve.
Piece by piece. He's been out here for 7 days. It would be odd if they didn't. We should keep a lookout for these species. The armor could yield information. This is one thing he might actually know.
The sabatons dangle off the man's decaying form.
That's for us to find out. My initial report on the area suggests he was a security guard for the harbor company, but that's just hearsay. Just something I scraped together from my station. An area report on Martinez. I'm sure you did the same.
He's not actually sure of that. He's just being tactful.
I agree. This equipment is way beyond what a guard can afford.
A small bell-like sound fills the air, like tapping on the side of a porcelain cup.
It's anything but. This material is a kinetic redistributor. It spreads kinetic energy horizontally, from plate to plate, dissipating it entirely. See?
Faint, organic lines cover the plates where they separate into smaller ones. These plates then divide into smaller plates until there are hundreds of them altogether. Like whirls of floorboards, the design looks organic, influenced by highly resistant wood materials, like lignum vitae and ebony perhaps. If trees were made of porcelain, this is what their cross-sections would look like. The smooth, glossy surface fractures into ever more intricate interconnections, peaking on the right sabaton, where you notice. The whirls are in the shape of a letter and number combination, E50, 100, 1000.
Good. Can you read it to me? We have a make and a number. That's something. We can use the radio in my kinema when we're done. Either station can chase it for us.
This feels dangerous. Are you sure? The stench fills your nostrils. As you push downward, an ominous creaking sound comes from above.
Stop! Pigs get...
Brutal!
Even the mongrels can see you're about to pull his head off.
Do it, homo!
Stop obsessing about your sexuality, officer. You are about to seriously compromise the current...
Indeed, from this angle, it does look like the neck isn't going to take much more. Being dead for a week has all but liquefied his muscle.
What are you trying to achieve anyway? Why are you hanging on to that boot? How many clothes do you need? You already found a number. There's no way you're getting them off. All the organic matter in his body has been flowing down into the boots. They are fused to his feet now. Why do you think the locals haven't scavenged them yet?
You're sure there's a way to peel them off, but first the body needs to be down, and second, it would probably be better if the lieutenant wasn't around. The anticipation makes you crack your fingers. Feels nice. Nice and cracky.
Processing will take care of them. With the situation in the morgue, it will yield nothing. But we must pick our fights. Should we continue?
The cadaver slowly... The hangman's knot is pulled tight by the weight of the corpse below. Yellow, hard-edged polyester cuts into his neck. Above, a sliding buckle ties the belt. This is a steel-reinforced cargo lashing belt. Big brother of the regular cargo belt. It's used for tying cargo under 6-rotor airships.
Airlifting. I thought it was used on lorries for strapping cargo to them. The local harbor uses 6 rotors to shuffle containers around. I get the sense they use whatever was on hand, without paying much attention to not incriminating themselves. I'm still approaching this as a lynching, yes, motivated by the ongoing strike. You?
No. You feel like it was something else. But what?
Yes, it often is. This bell worries me. I was afraid it would be. Thin steel wiring, parallel strands. This makes getting him down more problematic than I had assumed. A noose is one of those things that's easier to use one way around. That ladder can't carry a grown man. I didn't see any splintering either, did you? I think they lassoed the branch, then pulled on the belt to close the buckle.
Could be. The shape of the branch supports the theory. The cadaver hangs from the cargo belt, limbs limp and torso covered in tattoos. An intricate web of blue lines stretches across the torso, from the right shoulder to the solar plexus. Each time they intersect, a small white star is formed in their crossing. Hundreds of fading asterisks riddle his skin. Their concentration is highest around his heart. His corpse is marked by stars, alcohol, and heartbreak.
A map of the stars. I do see some similarity to astronomical charts. Great Century Messinian, maybe. But this seems more particular. Customized somehow.
As if someone left out most of the night sky, filtering it through personal choice. The principle of this filter remains unknown to you. The thought dissipates, and you feel as though you were only half right. He takes a piece of milled aluminium from his coat pocket and pulls it open. Sounds like a sword being unsheathed. A small lens appears, some sort of camera.
A Trigger Sunshine Mini.
Triggered is the world's leading manufacturer of intercommunication devices, primarily projectors. The camera before you looks familiar somehow.
Shit, Kuno! What the fuck is that?
An instant color camera.
This is the first time he openly acknowledges the kid's existence.
I have only 2 ampoules, so nobody move. I don't want to waste one.
A shrill flash, followed by the breaking of a small ampoule of glass. You see streams of color pour onto the thick, glossy piece of paper, rolling out.
In case we need it. Yes, it is pretty cool, isn't it? It contains insight to the victim's person. By his build, I'd say this was a man of physical violence. The story he wanted his body to tell was important to him. It is his letter, to us. Someone should decipher it. We'll need to show it around. Sure, just don't lose it.
The glassy-eyed corpse looks by, his mouth mute and his skin as colorful as the chemical rainbow on the photo paper, teeming with opportunistic organisms. His eyes are milky white and blind to the world, protruding comically from their sockets. There is no one home, just subaquatic terrors there. Dark brown hair grows on his head. His face is ready to explode from the organic processes inside. The death's head grin has passed. What remains is an unrecognizable mess.
I'm gone. Into the wild pale yonder, in the past, way out west. I'm a joke. Look at me. There is nothing funny about jokes either. A killer, a motherfucker, and a killer. Go ahead, Kobo. What do you mean? It's the power of your imagination.
Yeah, man! Don't be crazy! Inanimate objects and dead people can't really talk to you. Your wild imagination is doing this. Ask some more of those questions you love so much.
He loves those. Because you're a copperoony. Look at all of them go. Do you want more questions? Here you go, loony. Fuck no. You're no Rooney. Listen to yourself. You're not a Raphael anything. You're probably just a Harry or something. That's right. Harry. You might be onto something there. Because you have. Do I remind you of someone?
A child born with Muller's disease, harlequinism, grown up miraculously.
You sure wrinkled out of that one, Coppolini. Come back later, Coppo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible. Also, see me in your dreams.
As you narrow your eyes, the monster before you blurs into a violent mess of green and pink. This is a trick. You've done it before. Pink is where the blood settled in the first hours post-mortem. You can use it to see if the corpse has been tampered with. Does his position at the time of death match the discoloration? Only the lower extremities are pink with a dash of blue. His fatted hands, thighs, and his neck, just above the noose. The rest of the corpse appears dark green in the cold spring air.
I see it. His neck too. The lividity goes right up his chin. We have good, well-pronounced discoloration here.
The monster comes back into focus, an explosion of color, coursing with dark marbled veins. His stomach appears pregnant with something. Black liquid streams down his thigh and onto his boot.
So, what do you think? Agreed, especially on the neck. The belt acted like a tourniquet, keeping the blood in his head. The hypostasis supports a hanging. There's always a chance. We should check for ligament marks on his neck to see if they're in tune with the belt. We'll have to get him down first. I do. Most of them are post-mortem. Maybe even all of them. The delinquents have made our jobs harder with their little sport.
Stop talking in riddles, coin slot.
He means you fucked him up good, Kuno. Fucked him up brutal-like.
A pool of blood and feces has eaten into the frozen mud below the man's feet. Purge liquid is dripping into it, drop by drop.
The victim appears to have contained no more than half a kilogram of digestion at the time of death.
The fuck he's saying?
Talking about shit.
Maybe.
But there is no breath to catch. Only the cadaver filling the air and your nostrils. He slowly rotates before you, decomposing.
Are you sure we finished the preliminary examination of the cadaver? We might miss some of these things once he's done.
The cadaver slowly twists on the cargo belt, his torso covered in tattoos, and extremities blotched pink and blue. His eye dark brown. The corpse looks right through you as you distance.
Of course. You have questions. Come back later, copper.
The steel-reinforced belt presents a unique challenge. I brought chain cutters, but I don't see a good angle of approach to the belt.
He doesn't actually think the challenge is unique. He thinks it's frustrating, annoying, and harder than he thought.
The cadaver is a good 1.2 meters up. Neither one of us can reach the belt without assistance. And even if we do, there's the question of cutting the airship strength material. Climb up there and sow the bread? There has to be a less risky way, with less falling down of trees. Someone else? You mean like the police?
What was that about processing then? Weren't they supposed to take care of the boots? Why don't they help?
No. Think of the boys from processing as murderers. Only instead of people, they murder crime scenes. Processing is a wrecking crew. They know how to commission off items and how to work the incinerator in the morgue. I know it's hard, but I assure you, the others won't come to help us. And we have a growing sanitary concern here. We need to get him down, fast.
Yeah! Bang bang time, pig! Shoot his head off!
How? Where the buckle ties the rope to the branch. That's a good spot to aim.
Where? Ah, yes, I see. If the shot hits that, there might be a chance to release the belt.
Yeah, now we're talking. Entertain a Kuno with some shit.
They'll miss! The pigs will miss.
The lieutenant is undecided. On one hand, he wants to shoot some gun. On the other, it's an awfully stupid idea. The lieutenant's brow is furrowed. He appears too deep in concentration to even notice what you said. Silence. With his elbow and produces a lightweight firearm. He drops a paper cartridge in the barrel, separates the scouring stick, and gives the cartridge 5 tucks. That's a Kiel A90-90 Armistice, mass-produced muzzle loader, ascetic, frugal, one of the most common firearms in the world. He then steps back and assumes the fellow's desk position, taking aim. The corner of his eye twitches. His finger is on the trigger.
He's gonna fucking miss!
His voice is drowned in a shrill blast that echoes off the walls of the surrounding tenements. A cloud of smoke slowly parts in the air as the lieutenant steps back and says to himself,
God damn it.
He feels bad about it. About his eyes mostly. Just having bad eyesight. Probably from a young age.
Fuck you! Kuno could have hit it easy, but then Kuno's not fucking handicapped, is he?
No, we are lucky as it is. We didn't break anything, and the victim remains uncompromised. Any more mistakes could put us in an unfortunate position with the locals. We have eyes on us. I didn't do us any favors with that. I have to say, it's beginning to look unlikely we can get him down without assistance. It's bad as it is. Us shooting firearms like, go ahead, I'm not stopping you. Just don't lose it.
This is the...
Take it, you fucking banana boyka!
The cold piece of bakelite and gunmetal is surprisingly light. Your fingers fit right through the guard, instinctively resting on the trigger.
The fuck are you waiting for, Kuno?
The buckle comes into focus in your sights. You stand with your feet planted firmly in the ground and your left hand supporting your gun arm.
Why don't you just shoot yourself in your mouth? At least you won't miss.
Your field of view narrows. The branch slowly moves, becoming entirely two-dimensional. The metal buckle glimmers, slick with the falling rain. The corpse slowly rotates. The slow movement of the branch in the wind and your shoulders directing the gun sink up. dancing hypnotically. As you wait, your breathing slows down. Some mosquito-like organism buzzes in your peripheral.
Look, he's crying. You gonna cry now, fucking faggoty?
The buckle explodes into tiny pieces, coming loose with a whir. With your hand numb from the recoil, you look at the body slump down. For a moment, the man appears to kneel in front of you. Looking straight at you, helpless, trapped within itself.
Communism.
It takes a millisecond for the association to flash within your cortex. You have no idea where it's coming from, only that it's right. Then the rigor of his muscles gives up, and he smashes sideways into the spring mud, letting out a horrid stench.
Aces high.
The Ace is High, a custom invented by the aerostatic brigades during the revolution, is used to celebrate success in Revachol, especially in sports. The gesture is spread across the world despite the defeat of the revolutionaries themselves. The lieutenant takes a little hop to perform the customary salutation. Your palm hurts from the slap. It's precise and down to the point.
I knew these guys were
We will perform a field autopsy and determine the cause of death. But before... excuse me. It looks like I feel like taking a break from the stench. I'm sorry to interrupt the jubilations here. Just a little breather before we do the autopsy. In the meantime, we should try to interview Everard Clare, the leader of the Union. Harbor property was clearly used in the hanging. The harbor just east of here. Getting in might prove a challenge, though. I would also suggest we interview Joyce, the Wild Pines representative. But we've already done that, so good for us. One down, one to go. Yes, and those were the interviewees. Let's go. We should think about calling it a day, maybe. The nights are still miserably cold this time of year. You should take care of that, then. Let's talk to him anyway. An officer of the RCM shouldn't be sleeping in the street.
Though he finds this situation frustrating, he is doing his best to not make you feel any worse than you already